What up, OGs? We are here, episode 105 going down right now. And of course, I'm here with my brother, Joey Allen.
Yo, what's up?
How you feeling, man?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling hype.
So we're recording this intro after we've already recorded the episode with today's guest, Mia O'Brien. Dude, incredible conversation.
She can talk, man, and in a good way.
Yeah, no, she's very smart, dude. She knows so much about sports and just how to formulate her thoughts. I mean, just shout out to her. I know I am definitely I've always emulated a lot of my game off of the people I listen to, whether it's on 1010, other podcasts and whatnot. And she is just an absolute legend, man. So shout out to her for coming on the show. You guys are going to love this conversation. I don't want to take a long time on this intro because
we need to get into it.
I know. I want you guys to just get into it and just hear it. Tons of Caitlin Clark talk in this one. You know, this is a big Caitlin Clark podcast. We obviously love Caitlin Clark, but also a lot of Jags talk.
Oh, yeah.
We
Jags.
Predicted the Jaguars 2024 season / 2025 season. I mean, I was honestly very happy with the predictions that she gave. I also agree with a lot of them, too.
I think we're going to have a few more dubs than what she said, but her reasoning behind the L's, I get it.
I get it, too. And if it plays out the way that she describes it, I'm happy.
We're all right. We're doing good.
All right. But no, let's go ahead and jump into win of the week.
Let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 105, win of the week. Start us off, brother.
You want me to go first? All right. So my win of the week is every day this week I've been going fishing. You know, I'm a big fisherman. But this time of year for fishing, it's kind of starting to cool down, like temperature-wise, so the water and air pressure, everything. There's a lot of things that go into fishing, but it is hot right now, boy. And I tell you, anytime that I'm out there, if I was not here right now, I would be fishing because the topwater bite is just like insane. So every day this week.
So what does that mean? What's topwater bite?
So I throw lures. I don't like throwing bait because I don't like sitting there and waiting. I like doing something with my hands the whole time. So topwater, it's literally a lure. It's about this big, and it's on top of the water, and you just shake it back and forth.
Oh,
and
okay.
The fish, the way I like it because the fish have to come basically out of the water to get it. And it's just like a whole action thing. It's fucking awesome.
I like it. And so is that with the lure, it's actually like kind of going across the surface of the water. Like it's, okay, I see.
So they call it walking the dog.
Walking the dog.
I'm always walking that dog. You got to reel and twitch at the same time. I'll show you. I'll give you a little lesson. But you reel and twitch at the same time. You got to time it right. So it keeps going like this the whole time. And then they just come up and
I love it, bro. What's your favorite type of fish to catch?
Lately, I'd say snook. Because, we live in Jacksonville. People don't really catch
subtle flex.
They say they're rare. That's all I catch. I caught about 34 snook in the last 2 days. No, I'm just kidding. But I do catch a lot of snook. I love catching them. They fight good. They jump. It's fun.
I love it, man. So my win of the week.
Let's hear it.
Me and you, we've been, since the start of season 3, have been so locked in, just focused on whether it's the gym, this podcast, really just this podcast, if we're being honest.
Grinding.
Grinding hard as fuck. But then on Friday night, we both were just chilling, and we're like, wait, we really don't have a lot going on. I remember Scott invited us over to go get some steaks.
Which we did.
We did. Of course we did.
Yeah.
We went over there, had a great dinner with Scott. Shout out to him for being one of the best fucking cooks I know.
Oh, my gosh.
And, but no, then afterwards, you're like, hey, you want to go out for a little bit?
We're already out here.
Yeah. Well, go out for a minute and we could get some drinks. And dude, I honestly had the best fucking time. It's been a long time since, during the off season, we're always kind of not partying hard as fuck, but we're with all the people we don't really see a lot during the season. You know what I mean? We're going out, we're doing fun shit. But no, just me and you, we just went out, just hit a couple bars, had some drinks,
boys.
bro. Just with the boys. It was so fun. And we also saw some of our homies out there that we know. And it just turned into a great night, man. And I think we both really needed that because the start of this season has been so hectic. We're trying to do so many new things with the podcast. And for the people that don't know, obviously the guests play a huge role in the podcast, but this is a fucking two-man show. Mm-hmm. When it comes to editing and just marketing, promotion, things like that, it's just sometimes it gets so overwhelming. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love doing this shit.
Right.
But no, dude, it was just that Friday night, man. I was like, I knew after we had, a few drinks and whatnot, I was like, this is my win of the week.
You want to know my highlight of that night?
What?
The 2 hours that we spent at the end of our night in Macy's kitchen. Only in Macy's kitchen. Macy's asleep. She's like, if you need to come, just come hang out for a second. Macy's asleep. It's just me and Nick in this kitchen. We are just sitting there laughing our asses off at everything for 2 hours straight. Just dying.
She's like, if you guys want to pull up and sober up for a little bit, have some water, whatever. And when we were out, we're like, probably not even going to do that. You know what I mean? But then in the night came around, we ended up at her house, and we were kind of expecting to give her a call, and she'd be like awake, and we kind of keep the party going. But then we just show up, she's asleep.
We have to unlock the door, turn on the lights. It was just me and Nick in our house, just having fun by ourselves.
God, it was so fun, man. That whole night was just like, it felt like it went by so quick, but at the same time, like there were so many things that we did throughout the night. It was just a fun night, so bro. Fun. I enjoyed it. So no, that's my win of the week. Simple, but sometimes you need those nights with your boy, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the type of things like that are what help build the chemistry of this podcast. So if you guys, I know we've gotten the comments before where they're like, I just want a best friend like Nick and Joey in my life. You know what I mean?
Go get drunk on a Friday night and end up in somebody's kitchen for 2 hours.
But it does kind of show like, if you can do that with somebody and have a great time, just you and that person just going out and just vibing, you know what I mean? Like that's that's your best friend. Yeah. Congratulations, you have one.
Shout out to him.
Hey, my brother.
That's my best friend.
Type shit. No, but this is a great episode. Like I said, I want to take a ton of time on this intro. One thing I did want to speak on, though. A couple days ago, I was, chilling with, a friend, I guess. I wouldn't, I kind of know this dude. But he does listen to the podcast all the time. And he asked me, he's like, what is OG Sessions? Like, what does that mean? Yada, yada, yada. And it kind of had me thinking, like, the people that have been listening to this podcast forever obviously know, like, the story behind the name OG Sessions. But for all the new people here...
They see two white guys sitting there on a podcast.
And they're like, what the fuck is OG Sessions? And I think there's, like, a lot of things that are tied to, like, the name where people are probably thinking, like, oh, they're probably only sitting there smoking weed this entire time. Yeah. But no, that has really nothing to do with this podcast at all. The name, I did want to give people like a quick like backstory on how this all came about. So OG Sessions was something that we created to help promote a clothing brand that we had. At this point, it was probably like 5 years into us doing this clothing brand thing. It was, the name of the brand was Off Grid. The logo was like an OG.
Yeah.
And then anyone that bought merch from that clothing brand was considered an OG.
Right.
And so that was like the whole thing about it. Like some people didn't even really call the brand Off Grid; they just called it OG. And it was just like the acronym for the name, pretty much. And when we started the podcast, it wasn't just to start a podcast; it was to promote that clothing brand.
Right. Yeah.
And so we tied the name to Off Grid. OG Sessions.
OG Sessions.
And technically, like, it's Off-Grid Sessions. That's like, that'll always be kind of like the hidden meaning behind OG Sessions, But then, like a lot of people that have listened to this podcast for a while know, after about 5 to 10 episodes, we pretty much knew that this was the new lane and the clothing brand had to go. Now, granted, we did run into a lot of like problems with Off-Grid. We tried to copyright it twice. There were so many, I guess, other forms of Off-Grid and like people that were trying to use that name that trying to trademark the name Off Grid was pretty much impossible.
Yeah.
We both dropped like close to $3,000 trying to get it copyright or trademarked. The logo, we then like would switch things about it. Like we still kept the OG, but we tried to like make it like kind of form together differently.
Kind of started losing it in it.
100%. To definitely started losing it.
Yeah.
Started losing money.
Yeah.
And one thing about the brand that, I obviously loved how it brought all the boys together and it like kind of brought that like entrepreneurial like mindset out of all of us, man. And that's still something that me and you carry into this podcast. But it definitely like, I lost my like love for it once we started the podcast because I realized like, damn, like we really weren't drawing a huge profit off the clothing brand thing. It was more so we just like seeing people rep the vision,
the community,
the community behind it. And we did enjoy like making the clothes and stuff like that. And for the people that don't know, like everything was made in house. So, we'd order like the blanks and stuff and then print it ourselves. And just with that comes such a loss in like profit margins and things like that. And in time for sure. And so, pretty much like once the podcast got motion, we were like, why change the name? Yeah, fuck the brand. But at the same time, like
the brand's still here.
The brand is still here, but also I don't like we can't change the name.
No.
For the people out there that are like kind of confused on like what OG Sessions is, it's got deeper roots than what you realize. And it's not like me and you just want to start a podcast like, oh, we're such OGs and
we're the farthest thing from
OGs.
It's
the farthest thing for OGs. And you know that whenever we have like a rapper or a music artist or just like somebody on here that is like, kind of that knows real OGs. You know what I'm saying? And obviously, everyone that listens to this podcast, we're still going to refer to you as an OG because you support the vision of OG Sessions. And but no, I just wanted the people to know there is such a deeper meaning behind it for all the new listeners out there. And I can totally understand the confusion.
Yeah.
100%, you know?
I'll tell you, when I see OG, I don't think off-grid.
No.
Like, off-grid sessions, that makes sense. I'm like, OG sessions? What the fuck?
But I know, like, deep down, like, that is OG sessions.
Yeah.
It's off-grid sessions. It'll always be, like, you know, tied to this clothing brand thing that me and you did for so long beforehand. Honestly, me and Joey never had any idea that the podcast would grow into what it is now. You know, when we first started, it was kind of like, and really, you weren't even, I was the only host when we first started the podcast.
I was your biggest supporter.
You were the biggest fucking supporter. Now, that was the thing, is you were still, like, you were part of the fucking podcast with how much you were doing it. You know, just helping me behind the scenes, and, like, I'd shoot so many ideas off of you and whatever. But I don't even think you really realized, like, the potential for this vision, you know? But no, shout out to everyone that supports us. Even if you didn't know what the fucking name was all about and the backstory behind it, and you were just like, damn, these two guys have the most, you know, they don't really relate to the name whatsoever, but I still like their show. You know what I mean? Shout out to all of you guys. And, but no, let's jump into this episode.
Let's get it.
This is a fire episode 105 going down right now, and I hope you guys enjoy it. What up, OGs? We are here, episode 105 going down. And of course, I'm here with my brother, Joey Allen.
Yes, sir.
How's it going, man?
Feeling good.
I'm very excited for today's episode. A lot of Jags talk, a lot of NFL talk. This is a guest that I've honestly wanted to have on for such a long time. And honestly, someone that we look up to a lot, just in the radio world, podcasting world, things like that.
Yeah, I definitely listen to her on radio quite a bit.
1010XL boys right here.
Yes,
we know you. So this is a big one. We're really excited. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for sports reporter, journalist, host of Helmets and Heels, Mia O'Brien.
What's up, gentlemen? How we doing?
Not too bad. How are you?
Rocking, rolling, post-cut day, kind of like hitting that like weird. I'm not tired. I've had 2 coffees, but I'm ready for that next third win, and you guys are giving me that energy right now, so let's roll with it.
Love it. So let's go ahead and just paint the picture for the people. You know, obviously, a ton of these listeners are not in Jacksonville. If you're in Jacksonville and you like the Jags, you know who Mia O'Brien is. You have to, right?
I mean, you know, there are those who still have me muted, and that's A-okay. So I'm not gonna complain. You know, you can't please everyone. You're not a taco. So
I love it. No, but where are you from, Mia? Are you born and raised Jacksonville?
Yeah, no. So that's the one that gets everybody. So I am born and raised Freehold, New Jersey.
Wow.
So I'm actually from New Jersey. The reason I say that gets everybody is that my job before I moved to Jacksonville was in Iowa, and so there was a perpetuating myth that I was actually from Iowa. People still think I'm from Iowa. I am not. I also never actually graduated from the University of Iowa. I have a master's in partying from there because as opposed to going to law school or grad school, I graduated from Ithaca College in upstate New York and went from the #1 party school in America in 2015 to the #2 party school town in America in Iowa City. So I'm originally from New Jersey, from the Jersey Shore. Mike the Situation lives in my hometown. And
oh my God.
Yeah, I went to school in upstate New York, go Bombers, and then was in Iowa for 3 years and then moved here in 2018.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so have you ever heard of Piscataway, New Jersey?
Very familiar.
Okay, that's where my dad's from.
Oh, he's
always repping Piscataway.
Yes.
And I'm like, Dad, no one's going to ever, like, anytime I ever say Piscataway, everyone knows what I'm talking about.
What does he call it? Pork roll or Taylor ham?
Oh, I don't even know.
Okay,
There's
next
more
time.
to it.
No, I know he's listening right now, but when you see him, I want you to ask him pork roll or Taylor ham, and then you have to ask him what's his exit.
Oh, that's funny.
These are very New Jersey things that you need to do.
Do you think differently on somebody if they are pork roll or jelly? What is it?
Yeah, pork roll or Taylor ham. I don't because my parents are from North Jersey, so they call it Taylor ham. And so I grew up calling it Taylor ham despite living in the Jersey Shore, Central Jersey, which is a real thing. And some people think Central Jersey doesn't exist. Piscataway is in Central Jersey. Freehold is in Central New Jersey. It exists. And so I went to probably 4th or 5th grade and I said something about, my mom made us eggs and Taylor ham for breakfast yesterday, and some kid said to me it's not Taylor ham, it's pork roll, and I was so confused. And so then I went home and I said it to my mom and she kind of laughed it off, and she's like, oh yeah, in Central and South New Jersey they call it that, but we call it Taylor ham. And I'm like, what? So then my life is a lie? What are you telling me? And so you'll hear people say pork roll, egg and cheese. on a bagel. You'll never hear them say Taylor ham, egg, and cheese, in my opinion. But
oh yeah,
it's an ongoing debate that will never be resolved.
That's funny. Okay, that's definitely something I'm going to bring up at our next dinner. For
there
sure.
you go.
But have you always been into sports? Like, obviously, one thing that I think I admire about you so much is that you're so knowledgeable when it comes to this shit. I mean, it's like, I just, for me, I know, obviously, I've been such a big NFL fan, Jags fan my whole life, same as Joey. And we can talk Jags with anybody, but when it comes to you, I'm like, there's almost like a little bit of an intimidation. Like, she's
100%.
like a pro when it comes to this shit.
I'll say this. Like, I always tell, and this is from, and we'll actually bring it full circle. This is from my sports broadcasting camp that I went to. My instructor as a kid always said, conversation, not interrogation. Because that was something I struggled with, not just on air, but interpersonal communication. He always felt like I was a little too intense. And sometimes just having a chat like this, like, that's the way you should come across, whether you're on air talking to millions of people, whether you're on the sidelines of the Super Bowl, or we're having a chat right now on a podcast, or if you're on radio and just talking to one other person. It needs to be conversational. So, definitely conversation, not interrogation, boys. I'm not that scary, I promise. I'm also only 5'2". The camera doesn't show that. But no, so I actually was just telling somebody this morning. So I always stress to young up-and-coming sports broadcasters, media mentees, I always express that I am the 1%, the exception, the one who was built in a lab. You cannot follow my blueprint because it is just so obscure and it doesn't happen to most people, and that's okay. That's not to say that I'm better. That's just to say that, like, my trajectory was way different than most people. And so that started when I was in 7th grade. Actually, we'll take it all the way back. Let's take it back. So 5th grade. I was a big soccer player growing up as a kid, played through high school, club, all that good stuff. And my other interests in sports were pretty, casual. I'd watch games with my parents. I was obviously huge into soccer, so I followed the MLS. But it wasn't until my cousin's first communion, 5th grade, for whatever the reason, I'd watched millions of Yankees games, like, casually before, right? Not millions, but thousands. My uncle had a game on. The Yankees are beating up on the Royals 13-4. And for some reason that day, I couldn't stop watching. And everybody else is outside at the barbecue, but I just couldn't stop watching. And my uncle, who had season tickets at the time, comes up to me afterwards and says, it doesn't end after the game. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you can go home. You can go on their website. You can read articles and stories and watch interviews from the game. And you can read the box scores of the other baseball games, and this whole new world in the matter of hours materialized before my eyes. And so as a little 5th grader, from that moment forth all the way up until now, I guess, I would wake up. I would go downstairs to the family computer. I'd have my mom bring my breakfast in, and I would scroll the box scores and scroll the stories, and thus a new tradition of sorts, a daily routine was born. And I was in 7th grade. We fast forward 2 years. I'm in 7th grade. I was a theater kid, in addition to obsessing about the New York Yankees and anything else I could find online in the sports world. And a mutual friend had told my parents that her son's best friend had attended a sports broadcasting camp run by Ian Eagle, who, of course, you all know who that is, and Bruce Beck, the lead sports anchor for NBC4 New York. And the mother recommended that this friend of her son's, which I'm sure we'll get back to him at some point because there's a weird, crazy full circle moment there too. They, recommended, like, hey, once Mia's old enough, she should really go to the camp. And it was at Montclair State, down the road from where my grandparents lived, so I could stay at my grandparents' house, and they would drive me to camp each day. And, I'd get to camp 2 years later. I'm 15 years old, and I say it all the time. Like, I was one of 52 kids in the class. Yes, I was one of 5 girls, which also included Emily Kaplan. Fun facts, if you follow hockey on ESPN.
Oh, wow.
Emily Kaplan and I go way back.
Is she another broadcaster?
She is, yeah. Wow. So she does the ringside reporter for ESPN.
That's sweet. Heck
yeah, and she did a bunch of NFL stuff before that. So shout out Kaplan. But yeah, and I couldn't have guaranteed of that group of 52 kids, which was the 7th year they had done the beginner camp, because they also have an advanced camp, which I would later also do. Like, I couldn't guarantee that I was actually going to be any good at this. Like, I just went because I was a theater kid and I was obsessed with sports stats, and my parents said, let's see if we can marry these two things together. And lo and behold, they felt like I was pretty good. They took my parents aside at the end of the week and they said, she has a career in this. She's going to go to Syracuse or Ithaca. Then she's going to move to Billings, Montana, Bangor, Maine, somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and then she'll move to the next big media market, and then the next one, and the next one, and then eventually she'll get to ESPN, and like that's what her life's going to be for the next 20 years. And I was 15 years old.
Wow.
So yeah, and so that's why I tell people, like, I am the exception. Like, the fact that my parents and I were handed essentially a semi blueprint when I was 15, and we were told, here's what she's got to do. And we have largely followed that. Definitely have zigged, zagged, because the multimedia world, as you guys know more than anybody, because I'm sitting here talking to you in a podcast studio, it has changed.
For sure.
And so I've had to adapt that blueprint a bit more than I think 15-year-old Mia would have realized. But I was essentially told when I was a sophomore in high school, like, hey, like, this is what the next however many decades of your life, if it keeps working out, this is what you're going to be doing.
That's amazing.
So dope.
Is it what you wanted the whole time? Like, did you know as soon as you got obsessed with the Yankees baseball, you wanted to be a broadcaster?
Once I went to camp, but it's funny you should say that, Joey, because so I'm at camp, right? And I really liked beginner camp. And honestly, I think part of why I liked it was just because they kept telling me, you're good at this. And I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. And I liked the fact that we got a behind the scenes tour of Giants Stadium. Yes, pre-MetLife.
Wow.
I love that we, got to read off the teleprompter. I got to meet Yogi Berra because it was at the Yogi Berra Museum, and got, pretty close with him and his family. And so for me, it was just like, oh, these are my friends, and all my friends, my new friends all like sports like me, and they all like talking on TV. So like, this is great. Right. And I remember, because the next year, the advanced camp, little bit step above, a little bit more intricate. You're tasked with, over the course of 5 days, you have to produce interviews, you have to produce the rundown, and then you anchor your own 5-minute sportscast. But you're putting it together, you're filming stuff, they take you to a baseball game, you interview minor league baseball players. And so it's a little bit more intensive. And so I think I just assumed I would do it because it was the next logical step. Mm-hmm. But then I went to the beach with a bunch of my friends from beginner camp who'd also be going to advanced camp that I had met the summer prior. And I remember, like, they were all so, like, fixated on, like, oh, my God, we're going to learn from Mike Quick from MSG Network. This is going to be great. It's so intense. And I was kind of just like, I'm just excited to be with my friends. Like, right. And they're all, like, and granted, they were all 2 years older than me, but they're talking about, like, this is going to prepare me for college and then for my job. And I'm just like, I'm really just, like, here with my friends. Like, I don't know.
It's like a walk in a park to you.
Right. I mean, not even a walk in a park. Like, not that it was easy, but, like, I didn't view it as work,
right.
I guess. Like, I just was like, I spent.
You were just enjoying it.
I was like, I spent 359 days of the year being the nerdy soccer player who, like, is on her phone looking at Yankee stats. Like, like, I don't know. Like, this is the 1 week of the year I feel like I'm with my people, but I'm not really thinking about the end goal. I'm just thinking about, hey, it's so much fun being with my friends and making great content. But then when I got to that advanced camp year, there was a pretty defining moment of my life the second day that first year. So I'm 16 at this point, and we're doing the aforementioned interviews with the baseball team. And my friends from the previous year were, like, off to the side, like, shooting the shit or whatever. And so I walked over with them, and some of the other kids are doing their interviews. And so then one of the veteran campers comes up to me, and she pulls me aside, and she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm talking to my friends. Like, what's the problem? And she's like, you're supposed to respect your other teammates. Like, they're doing their interview, and they sat there and listened to you do your interviews. You need to respect them. They're part of your team. And I literally was like, fuck you. I just met you. Like, I don't, like, who are you to tell me what to do? And I remember going home, and I remember even, like, calling my mom and being like, dopey Tess Quinlan was bullying me, blah, 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 blah. And then, like, I woke up the next morning, and I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? Maybe she's right. And I actually talked to Mike Quick, the advanced camp director, and I said, hey, like, Tess cornered me yesterday. I know you hold her in high esteem. Like, and he said, yeah, no, like, I was proud of her for doing that because you are better than those kids who are just slacking off in the corner. And you are a team player, and I want to see that out of you. And so from that moment forth, I recognized that, yes, the camp was a means to an end to learn about the industry, but it was also so much more. It was about developing those values, whether it's things like teamwork or things like always having a great handshake, making impeccable eye contact, taking a breath when you need to. If the red light is on, you're performing. Don't chew gum. They also say don't wear hats, but, I break that rule.
It's La Favre.
Exactly, I have to. Shout out Casey and the crew. Casey. Always wear a watch. Like, things like that were setting me up for life, regardless of if I succeeded in the field or not. That is where I look back on it, and I'm like, okay, my foundation was laid there. And it just so happened that, yes, they kept telling me that I was good and I could keep progressing. And then I got to Ithaca and people kept giving me jobs, and like that's still happening. Like this is year 10, I think, for me in the industry. People just keep giving me jobs. Yeah. And so I'm just like, okay, whatever. I'm just going to keep on going until somebody tells me no. And even then I'll probably push back.
You are phenomenal. Like just with the way you speak and formulate like just sentences, you know what I mean? It's like me and Joey have had so many different guests on here, and a lot of the guests for some of them, it's been like their first podcast or their time even really having like a recorded conversation.
Right.
And it definitely, like, you have to put in reps to get to a certain point. I know for me, I can't go back and listen to any of my old podcast episodes.
I struggle to go back and look at my stuff.
Like, even today, like, I struggle to talk. Like, I can't even get words out. I'm like it's you think too fast.
Yes, you're trying to, bridge the gap of, like, what you're thinking in your head and then how to say it in a sentence.
Well, that's even something, like, I'll go to my, so I'm interviewing, to go to Ithaca for the scholarship that I got. And the girl who was hosting me, who was a current freshman, so I was a senior in high school at this point, like, I'll never forget, she said to me, like, when you're in your formal interview, it's okay to, like, pause, take a second, even say, please give me a second, and then formulate exactly what you're thinking. Even if you know exactly what you're going to answer, because then it shows you have thought and consideration to things. And I still struggle with that, and that was, 13 years ago, something like that. So crazy.
I guess when you've done it so many times, you kind of just get to the point where you're a master. Yeah. It's like you just master your craft, right?
Yeah. Well, and part of it too, I've given a lot of shout outs to broadcasting camp. I was a speech and debate kid in high school too. And so that was huge.
Okay, that probably plays a huge role.
Doing improv, doing impromptu, doing extemporaneous speaking. Like when you're literally handed a topic and told you have 3 minutes to prepare, and then you got to speak, you could do a 4-minute speech that you had no idea you were going to be doing that speech 5 minutes ago. When you've been through that for 4 years and you do it weekly, it's like, okay, I got to talk about this today. Okay, let me just give me a second to formulate this and I'll figure it out.
I love it. Yeah. So you grew up a Giants fan, I'm guessing.
No.
Jets?
No.
Really? What?
So I would say I describe it for people as my dad, as much as he's not an NBA fan, he was a primitive NBA fan when it came to the NFL. And what I mean by that is NBA fans today, what do they get knocked for? They root for stars. They don't root for teams. Mm-hmm. When I was growing up, my dad was so hell-bent when it came to the NFL on, we're going to watch the good players, the players that for you to have a holistic view of the sport, you need to watch them, their mechanics, and how they approach the game. And so Aaron Rodgers, we're watching Aaron Rodgers. Tom Brady, we love to hate on him, but we're watching Tom Brady. And so it was a lot more about the individual players than it was the teams. And I wasn't even playing fantasy football at the time. And so we all hated the New England Patriots. My grandpa also hates on everybody. So he would hate on the Giants because his brother was a Giants fan. He would hate on the Jets because his friend down the street was a Jets fan. And so he'd just sit on the couch and he would just bitch about everybody. And so that's all I knew. Yeah. Maybe that's why I work in sports talk radio now, because all I did was sit and listen to my poppy bitch about everybody. So, so there were things I liked about the Giants, things I liked about the Jets, things I liked about the Eagles. Growing up in Freehold, we had all three within our purview. My first jersey was a Chad Pennington jersey, so I guess we can say that. But I still rooted for the Giants during their Super Bowl runs when I was in high school. Loved Michael Strahan, loved Tiki Barber, and loved Donovan McNabb, loved everything Andy Reid stood for and still stands for to this day. So yeah, I was much more of the big picture view of those teams as opposed to like having a rooting fandom. The only team, I'll tell you this, the only team that I actively follow and root for across all sports is the Yankees. That's it. In terms of I hate everybody who is a rival of them, and I follow one team. That is the only team that's across the NFL, NBA. Nah, everybody else, obviously I would like the Jags to be good because
for sure.
It helps my and I do follow Iowa because I've been through the mud with them. But it's not to say I don't like Iowa State. That's not to say that I hate Nebraska. I hate Northwestern, but that's because they rejected me. So there's inherently other than that, there's nobody that I actively am so focused on or rooting for besides the Yankees.
I love it, and I love what you said about Tom Brady because this is a big fuck Tom Brady podcast.
Yeah, we don't like Tom Brady.
We hate Tom Brady.
We hated the Patriots more than we liked any teams growing up, literally. So.
Yeah, that is actually really accurate. I don't know if I hate the Patriots more than I love the Jags. I think it's pretty much even, honestly. But it's just, Tom Brady, I do give him his flowers. There is so many things about Tom Brady where I'm like, okay, the dude is a fucking legend. And he is in the conversation for being the GOAT, of course. How can you say he's not? But at the same time, that man has crushed my heart and my hopes and my dreams and just every, God, I can't not hate the guy.
Was it the Patriots that you hated or Tom Brady? Because
great question.
Once Tom Brady left, I mean, I didn't hate them as much.
No, I still hate it.
I think so. Two things happened at once. I watched the two Bills. If you guys haven't seen that 30 for 30, and the way Bill Parcells treated Bill Belichick during his formative coaching years. I mean, I get that's how Parcells treated everybody, but I gained a newfound appreciation for Bill Belichick because he sat around and he waited. He was told he had to wait for his turn. And a lot of times Parcells would promise him a job and then it wouldn't materialize. And ultimately he had to strike it out on his own. Then he came back to Father Bill. And then he eventually just kind of lucked into the Patriots job. And I had a newfound appreciation for Belichick after that, which was around the same time as Tampa Tom. And I think moving to Florida, becoming a Florida man, made Tom Brady so much more self-deprecating and so much more human, if that makes sense. And so I don't hate him now. I didn't hate him in Tampa. I mean, yes, he's a winner. It's frustrating. But I don't think people are frustrated by Aaron Rodgers outside of Bears fans for being a winner. I think people are frustrated because he's crazy. On a football field, you can't deny he's some of the best mechanics we've ever seen.
Oh, my God. Without a doubt. Yeah. I mean, I love Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
That's
watching him play is enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's just that,
Didn't he lock himself in a dark room for like 15 days?
Yeah, he went out to he paid money to be out in Wyoming or somewhere, to be in a dark room.
And then all the ayahuasca stuff. You just gotta give the man some credit though, just for going kind of away from the typical status quo of a quarterback. I mean,
he went to Egypt this summer or something like that to try to awaken the dead or somehow heal his Achilles. I don't know.
That kind of sparks the Gardner Minshew thought for me too, because Gardner Minshew spent this entire offseason in an RV just traveling the country, and I love shit like that.
Oh, and that's really who he is. It's not a gimmick. That is literally who Gardner is, and having spent time with his family, they are who they are, and I love that. I aspire to be like them and to just be your authentic self. If you can't be yourself, then what are you doing?
100%. I love that. So let's get on to how you got to Jacksonville.
Sweet.
What brought you here?
Yeah. So I had representation at the time, and they had submitted me for First Coast News. Coincidentally enough, I didn't realize it until I got here for my interview because they couldn't disclose it at the time. I was replacing Alyssa Lang, who of course was leaving for the SEC network.
Oh, wow.
And so that was obviously a big sales pitch to me, was this idea of, well, she just got a job at network from here, so you could get a job at network from here. So I'm like, all right, sweet. So I got here in 2018. My first week on the job was week 2 of the 2018 season, which of course was when the Jags beat the Patriots at Everbank Stadium.
Yeah.
I was actually not here for the game. I was here for the first 4 days of that week. I had to fly back to Iowa for my friend's wedding, and so I was flying back during the game that Sunday. Dang. And then, as many will recall, after starting 2-0 to begin the 2018 season, the Jaguars would finish 5-12, and so therefore I saw 3 wins the rest of that first season after being told, hey, you're going to end up at network, you're going to cover a Super Bowl, everything's going to be hunky-dory. With that said, I seemed to like Jacksonville enough in those first few months that I was like, oh, okay, you know what, they're losing, but it's fine. Hey, Florida won. Florida went to a Sugar Bowl, or not Sugar Bowl, the Peach Bowl that year, because I got to cover that, had a lot of fun in the ATL. So I'm like, all right, got to cover LSU, Florida in the Swamp. I'm like, okay, at least Florida's good. Florida State, not so much back then. Georgia was on the rise, so I'm like, it's not the end of the world. Great high school football. And so then I was at First Coast News from 2018 to 2022 full time. Back in 2020, I got a call from my GM at First Coast News, and he asked me if I knew a guy named Steve. And I was like, and he says his name, and I'm like, hey, who? And he's like, well, he's the GM at 1010XL. And he just called me because he's interested in having you do some work for them. And I think that would be great for you. And that, for me, regardless of some other disagreements I had with that gentleman, that was such a huge vote of confidence. Because when I was in Iowa, as much as I talk about Iowa with these rose-colored glasses so much, my actual work environment there, and I've been pretty open about this, was not conducive to who I am as a person.
Really?
I was told that I wasn't allowed to be creative. I was told I wasn't allowed to use cool animations, wasn't allowed to use music or sound effects in stories. My news director and I butted heads constantly to the point that I went to HR. I told them I don't feel safe when she calls me into her office and yells at me, and HR told me to not use those words.
No way.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it was time to leave. When I left, it was sad to leave my friends, but I was ready. And I had done a lot of work on myself too. So it was time, but to be allowed to be as creative as I was at First Coast News for the 4 years I was there. Like, they literally said, pull out the trampoline, jump, go. That was huge. And then the fact that, Rob Meny, to his credit, said to me, hey, I'm going to let you do freelance stuff at 1010. Like, that was so huge because I wasn't allowed to when I was in Iowa, and it was a constant uphill battle of just trying to do some play-by-play stuff on the side. And it was really unfortunate how it ended in Iowa. I mean, not that everybody's on good terms now, but the fact that First Coast News said to me, hey, like, you can go do this. And that then opened the door, little did they realize, for a full-time job, that then 1010XL pulled me away. But, I mean, even then, like, when I left First Coast News, there was no hard feelings. Like, Chris Porter and I still talk. My old boss, we talk. We're good. Like,
that's awesome,
it was more so, I think it was, and he was the one who said to me, he's like, look, like, you need to be a manager. Like, it's time. You're 28 years old. Like, it's time for you to take that next step and to be in charge of your own department. And so whether that was in Jacksonville or elsewhere, I knew that they were supportive of that. I kind of kept it under wraps that I was going to be staying in town and just going to the radio station full time. But then also, like, when you consider what I was doing in TV versus what I'm doing now, there certainly is overlap, but they are different jobs. And so took over in 2022. We created my role, which was director of multimedia production. Up to that point, despite being the flagship of the Jags, the flagship of the Gators, gentlemen, you can inform some of the listeners who may not be local to our area. There wasn't a lot of video, wasn't a lot of social media outside of two people in the whole building. So dominant on the airwaves, but looking to be dominant on digital. And so that was what I was hired to do, and expand our Jaguar coverage. And so, was lucky enough that I was afforded that opportunity, and a great opportunity to start a department, and went over in April of 2022. And lo and behold, after a 2-6 start, that first Jag season fully at 1010, we end in the AFC divisional round and talk of the town. And I'm like, man, all right, we're cooking with gas. And, I still think we're cooking with gas.
We definitely.
We're not worried. We're not worried.
Yeah, no, we're feeling good right now. I like what you said. Definitely a dated format for 1010XL at that time. I mean, it was. We spoke about it a little bit beforehand, but me and Joey have listened to 1010 for so long. Like, for the longest time, I actually didn't have my old vehicle didn't have like an aux cord or like the Bluetooth thing.
Yeah.
So it was just radio. It's like radio or nothing. And so it was 1010 pretty much all day, every day. Like, I'm even on there. Like, at the time, I'm listening to every single, even on Saturdays, I'm listening to like the outdoor show and shit.
Hell yeah,
like,
Jeff Loggeman's going to be happy to hear that. Come on now.
I went to his live show at Ring Power.
Let's go. I love that.
I love Jeff Loggeman, Captain Kevin Favor.
Yes.
Like, these guys are killing it.
Icon.
But it's cool. Like, so I remember at that time, like, that was kind of one of the cool things about it is, like, not only is it kind of like a dated format, but I can then go and call my dad, and I know he's been listening to the same thing all week. I can call my grandpa, he's listening to the same thing all week, But once I kind of started, like, a couple of years back, like maybe 2.5 years ago now, 3 years, when I started doing the podcast thing, I was like, it's crazy to think that 1010 never, like, evolved into, like, the podcasting world. Where I kind of got into, like, the multimedia and, like, doing all the, like, visuals and stuff. And then, now, like, I mean, now it's to a point to where there's so many clips out there where you're, interviewing players or just speaking on your own and all those things. And that's, like, the key.
Oh, yeah.
Nowadays, like, in today's world, like, that type of multimedia is just, I mean, it literally rules all, like, the social platforms, everything.
Right.
So,
like, I love Jeff and Dan, and they both understand and are so willing to morph for this. This is our morning show host at 1010. But like Jeff said this morning, he's like, I just don't get how New Heights with the Kelsey brothers, like, has this audience that it does. He's like, I'm so fascinated. Right. And he's like, I don't listen to podcasts though. I listen to clips. And all I could think was, and I didn't get a chance to see him this morning, but I wanted to be like, yes, Jeff, that's the reason New Heights has an audience.
Did he say that?
He literally said, I don't listen to podcasts, but I listen to clips. And I just want to be like, well, Jeff, that's the reason Amazon's paying them $150 million, because they're cutting it up into clips, and people want the clips. They, even if they don't listen to the full podcast, they're going to listen to the highlight of it. Just like you're not going to necessarily watch a full Astros Mariners baseball game, but you're going to watch the highlights. It's the same exact thing. And so multimedia has morphed just like we saw terrestrial television and terrestrial radio morph.
Yeah, and I think it's the attention span thing.
Yes.
Like, a lot of people can't sit through an hour and a half, 2 hour long podcast. I think New Heights is around that time.
Yep.
And, but I know for me, like, I've actually, now that I think about it, I've never listened to an entire New Heights episode. I've only seen clips, but I've seen a million clips.
Correct.
Like, with all the clips total, I've probably listened to an entire season.
Right, exactly.
And I think it also, another thing, like the power of two brothers that are going to the Super Bowl together. The whole world has their eyes on them. Like, they did everything. Their blueprint is kind of like you can't really recreate that.
They took advantage of their situation.
They capitalized on it. I can't fault them for that. And and then they ended up getting Taylor Swift involved, and now it's
you're good.
Rocket ship to the moon. Rocket ship to the moon.
Yeah, we did get Taylor on the pod, so whatever.
That'll save everything. Yes, Taylor saves all.
Yeah. So one thing that I did say before we started recording, most of the times, like we're part of a podcaster like meetup group, and then we meet up like once a quarter. Shout out to Botter for putting those together. But we, whenever we meet up with these people, the one thing that's kind of like consistent with all these podcasters is, especially with new podcasters, if they're kind of like a younger person or, like whatever, they always look so good. Like the cover photo is perfect. They have all these like maybe their set looks good or whatever. Like they kind of know how to make the visual look good, but they don't know how to actually like be a host and talk, have a healthy conversation, like how to like do certain things where it's just easy to listen to and easy to consume. But with 1010, it was kind of the opposite for so long. I mean, every single host on 1010 is just like my favorite. All of y'all. Even, it's so funny, me and my dad were just talking about this. Like, I love Helmets and Heels. It's three
this
chicks.
Is good. I like it.
It's three chicks all talking about like football. And there's got to be some, and we're going to get into this in a second, but there's got to be some kind of like, it's got to be difficult for y'all being three girls. Like everyone kind of wants to listen to, I feel like the average person would be like, oh no, I want to listen to guys talk about football or whatever. But
you'd be surprised, since we moved to the daily format, I can probably count on two hands the number of negative emails that we've gotten.
That's so
good. And angry letters, which,
I believe it though.
The OG homies of 1010 will love this. When the Sports Den shifted its format off of terrestrial radio, you got like 10 emails a day.
No way.
And the fact that we only get 10 angry emails in the course of 6 months for three women, like, honestly, I'll take it.
Y'all crush it. That's the thing, is like you guys really know your shit, but it's also just like so entertaining to kind of hear like y'all's perspective on things too. And there's always going to be a difference between like the male mind and the female mind, but you guys, I mean, it's so easy to consume. You guys are absolute like dogs in this game, really, when it comes to it. Like seriously, you're the GOAT. And it's got to be a difficult like format to go with though. When you first got on 1010, was that kind of like, was Helmets and Heels kind of being formed? Like, so
Helmets and Heels, so this is, as of August, has been on the air for 10 years.
Oh wow. Okay.
So, but obviously in a weekly format. So just Tuesday nights. I think it started as an hour and then it moved to 2 hours. But like, shout out to the OGs like Jessica Blaylock, who was one of the first folks on the program. She's now the sideline reporter for the Marlins and for the Florida Panthers.
Oh wow.
So I mean, she was one of the ones who got it off the ground running. Of course, Lauren Brooks, who I still co-host with. Donna Murphy, Blythe, Amanda Borges, who then left 1010 to go to the Rangers. Like, are you sensing a trend here? Like, everywhere that I've gone, these other women like go to these like massive networks, and then it's like, well, Mia's just still here running stuff in Jacksonville, so it's fine. But the network thing's eventually going to come. But no, Amanda Borges left 1010 for an opportunity with the Rangers, and then was with Yahoo Sports, and so a lot of great women blazed the trail. But yes, as of April this year, that was when we segued to the daily format. And again, credit to management at 1010 for not only believing in us, but the behind the scenes story of how they decided the time slot was fascinating. They like wouldn't tell me like that they were moving the show to a daily format and that they'd be switching me off XL Primetime to Helmets and Heels. And so all my boss kept asking me was, when do the Jags talk? When is podium? When is locker room? And I'm like, they talk like usually Trevor talks at 3 during the fall. Like, I don't know. Like, and then he's like, well, when's locker room? And I'm like, I don't know. Like on Thursdays it's at 2:30. It was like this whole back and forth. And little did I know it was because they wanted to make my schedule easier so that I can be on the air and go right to practice, go right to the locker room, as opposed to having to skip my show to then be in favor of Jaguars coverage. And so, I mean, that's a big leap though, because essentially when you compile all that information, it said to the management, all right, she's got to be on from 12 to 2. And that's a prime time slot. That's lunchtime. That's lunch hour. And to say to all these other men, who of course I have immense respect for and I've worked with now for 2+ years, to say, no, we're going to put the men from 2 to 6 and the women get 12 to 2. Like,
how did that go over?
To my face and to what I know, well, very supportive. Look, I mean, again, I can count on one hand the amount of negative response.
I love it. I'm telling you, it is prime.
It just shows how good you guys really do.
Right, which is huge. And even then, like, I would say, like, so when I first started part-time back in December of 2020, it was with Helmets and Heels. And so for me, I'm only doing radio once a week at that time. And so it's so different when you're like on television 5 days a week, but you only get 2 minutes of airtime, because that's a whole nother story we can get into another time, because that's just local news. But then you have that 1-2 hour time slot each week. So you kind of like pick and choose your spots, but that's like your 2 hours. When you move to the daily format, like people view it as a beast, and it is a beast to be like, okay, I got to fill 2 hours or 3 hours previously when I was with XL Primetime each day, right? But for me, like, I feel like it's not even like, I don't want to say imposter syndrome, but because like I never had it with the weekly. Like if anything, the weekly, I would do my other show, XL Primetime, which is the previous show that I was on, right? So 12 to 3, Monday to Friday, and then I'd have to do Helmets and Heels Tuesday nights, and I'd just be like, I feel like I'm rehashing everything that I've already said.
For sure.
But now, maybe it's because I feel like as women, and like because we are trying to prove ourselves in that time slot, like there have been moments over the last like 4 months where I've been like, okay, how do we be different? How do we make this different? Like, how can I move different? How can I sound, you know, more intelligent on a subject than not even just a male counterpart, but a female counterpart, someone somewhere else in the nation, unless, you know, talking on sports radio right now. And part of that, I think, too, is my job as the director of multimedia production. I listen to radio and podcasts across the country, multiple NFL markets, see what people are doing for their digital strategy. And so maybe it's listening to that and coming off with like, okay, that girl sounded super vanilla. And then I'm like charged with like, how do I not sound super vanilla on the radio?
It's funny you say that, because whenever I first started this podcast, I wasn't really listening to that many podcasts. And then as I started like creating more episodes, I remember, I mean, it was like my first or second week, I started then taking notes from other podcasters. And I was like, okay, I really like the way they do that. Or I'll even take like lingo from other podcasts sometimes. And,
segments and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Sure, oh my God. Yeah. If I hear somebody do a great segment, I'm like, okay, how can we like morph that into our own now?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We have a segment, Win of the Week. And I took that from a podcast, Bussin' with the Boys.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm a big Bussin' with the Boys guy. I'll listen to Bussin' with the Boys. That's like one of my big ones. And, they had shout out, no free shout out. And I was like, well, how do we make this like a thing? Like where you can just shout out something that's just like a win, something dope.
Yeah.
Win of the Week was born.
There you go. Just like, one of my favorite pods, shout out to the boys at One Shining Podcast with the Ringer.
Oh yeah.
And Tate, you know, shout outs, closeouts. That's how they end the show.
Oh yes.
And so like I love shout outs, closeouts. Like that's, you know, one of my favorite segments. And of course they also have the good guy, the bad guy, and the BAG guy of the week. And like I love it. So I think he's a genius when it comes to like podcasts. Like
he definitely is. I love that podcast as well. I also listen to a lot of comedy stuff too.
Okay.
So like a lot of the comedies, I have a different respect for those kind of podcasters because they do think outside the box so much.
Like Kill Tony.
Kill Tony's incredible. I mean, live podcasting is insane as it is, but yeah, just like some of these bigger like comedy podcasts are always, for them, it's like they don't even really have like specific topics they talk about. It's just like a conversation, like if you're at lunch with one of your homies.
Right.
And so,
which again goes back to what we said off the top: conversation, not interrogation.
Facts.
That's the best media.
I like that. That's a very good point. Yeah.
I literally, like, I wish I was kidding, but my roommates can vouch from this from college. I actually, like, as a high schooler, wrote conversation, not interrogation on a just 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and it traveled with me to all my apartments post-grad,
on
too.
the fridge,
and I just kept it up in my office or in my bedroom, everywhere I've lived.
I love it. That's
I finally got rid of it when I bought my house because my sister was like, you need to, like, actually style like an adult now, and I was like, all right, maybe the home office eventually I can put it back in.
Yeah, no, I love that quote though. It's very accurate. One thing I love about our setup and our blueprint is like we kind of get to talk about like a different topic every week depending on who the guest is. But for you, you're obviously always talking football or always talking sports.
Right.
Is it ever difficult, like with two other women, to like not get off track and talk about things that you guys find interesting outside of sports?
If anything, I'd say we've been encouraged to do that more.
Really?
Yeah,
okay, cool.
Absolutely. I think that they've encouraged us to not feel like you have to be about stats and facts all the time. And I know for me, that's not a struggle because as you guys are familiar with the previous show I was on, they go off topic from time to time. If anything, I feel like I contributed to a lot of the off the, walls, off the rail tangents that XL Primetime got onto. Yeah. But for me, that's what builds community. And before I was actually on the payroll part-time, I did pop into, shout out to the boys, second reference, shout out to James Coleman, Denny Thompson with the Sports Den. I did pop in with the Sports Den boys from time to time, to the point that in my interview for 1010, he asked me, okay, you listen to the station? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, what's your favorite show? And I said, the Sports Den. And he was like, really? And I was like, yeah, because it builds community. And that's what great radio and great podcasts do.
That's fact.
Part of why I love the Levitard show, because it's an entire universe and you feel like you're best friends with them.
Yep.
And you feel like you know things about them that are outside of just providing you sports knowledge. And certainly there's podcasts that I go to. There's content I go to where I just want facts, right? Like Move the Sticks, for example. I love the format that Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks have. And that's not just because Bucky works with me with the Jags. I truly love the format because it's somewhere between 25 to 40 minutes, 3 times a week. They dive headfirst into a specific topic. And well, yes, there's, how was your weekend? How was your high school football? They're a little bit of back and forth. They dive right into it. And I love that too. But when it comes to a daily radio program that is on for 2 hours, if you're not going off the rails a little bit and showing me some personality, what are we doing,
That is very true.
It's got to be relatable.
It's like those personal stories too, and just where you kind of get into the weeds a little bit. You know what I mean?
Right.
I like
and it also
that.
can't be forced, and that's
the Levitard show is a great reference too. I mean, that's I can
get
listen
the
to them
show
all day.
Yeah, I get the show.
And then there's a girl that's actually on that part of the show. Lucy Roden.
Is this where we segue to the Iowa talk?
Oh, we should.
I was going to say, I'm making sure we're staying on task here, and we can segue to my good friend Lucy Roden, who was actually an intern at the other television station in Cedar Rapids when I was working there. So Lucy and I covered Iowa at the same time. She was a student,
dope.
But we know each other. Yes.
Yeah, she's cool. She, I actually have a mutual friend. I used to date a girl that went to Iowa.
Oh,
and
sick!
She was best friends with Lucy.
Oh yeah. No, Lucy. We want to talk about young people who are getting after it and have a lane. I give Lucy all the credit in the world because I remember in 2016. 2017, when all the other girls who were student reporters at Iowa, interns at KCRG, at KGAN with me, they were essentially told, again, kind of back to that whole creativity thing I was saying.
Yeah.
They were told if you don't just stand there and report the news, then you're not going to have a career in this. And Lucy was adamant that she was going to have a sports comedy lane and she was going to create it.
Facts.
And dude,
she's hilarious.
Right, but she was also really great at the reporting thing,
For
too.
sure.
And so that's why I was like, really? She's kind of going out on a ledge here. And now you look back on it and you're like, Jesus, number one, credit to her for sticking to her guns. But secondly, she's hilarious.
Yeah.
And obviously then TikTok was created. COVID happened, all of her viral reels, and ended up at Wave TV with a couple other friends of mine for a hot minute there, too. And then Mike Ryan, that is. And yeah, crazy story. But no, there's a lot of overlap with the Iowans.
So obviously with you going to Iowa, and anyone that follows you on Instagram knows, Caitlin Clark is the fucking queen.
Yeah.
And,
okay. So I told you guys I'd have this pulled up, so I got to make sure I have it ready to go. Continue.
This is a big, just like this is a fuck Tom Brady podcast. This is just as much a we love Caitlin Clark.
Oh yeah, now we're talking, boys.
Caitlin Clark. I didn't know a lot about her. I knew who she was, obviously, before all the fame and everything kind of blew up and whatnot. But just this past year,
she is the only reason I watch basketball.
Oh no, women's basketball.
Truly.
Women's basketball.
No, basketball.
Truly.
I never
Facts.
watched the NBA before.
Really?
I swear. It's just,
I played a little bit of NBA fantasy, but that would be, I'm not a huge NBA guy. But Caitlin Clark, women's basketball. I actually tune into Caitlin Clark now. It's so dope. The Indiana Fever, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and then I remember Iowa.
No one knew what the Indiana Fever was a year ago. No, and it doesn't matter. I understand there's some OGs out there that are upset because they want, they in the 90s, they were the team of the night. No one was watching the Indiana Fever. They also, let's also be real here, the Indiana Fever were the Jacksonville Jaguars of the last 5 to 10 years. A team that was great in the 90s and has had the number 1 or the number 2 overall pick in the WNBA draft each of the last 3 years.
Wow.
And 4 of the last 5.
Damn.
So, sorry, Jags fans. That's just the reality of it. And that's why through the first few games of her professional career, I'd be watching this. And you guys remember the meme of the Lamborghini in a questionable neighborhood?
Oh, yeah.
That's what people were posting about Trevor Lawrence in 2021. And I was posting it about Caitlin Clark because I was just like, oh my God. She's trapped.
Yeah.
She's trapped. And Christy Sides is out here trying to force her to just be a point guard and not be a scorer. And this is awful. But putting it together the last few games, I hate to say it, since the break. And Kelsey Mitchell showed up, which has been great too. With she's had 4+ games of 20+ points, and that helps.
Insane.
Aaliyah Boston's great. No, I pulled up my phone because the homie. Me and the homie.
No way.
Yeah, of course.
No
Come on
way.
now.
I'm going to have you send that to me so I can put it on the thing.
Yeah, I got you.
That is crazy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll send it to you guys.
Oh my gosh, that's so sick.
Yeah, no, that's the homie. So,
I would have
Is she
freaked
nice?
out.
oh no, she's the realest of the real.
Did you have any, was there, obviously you talk with so many professional athletes, was there any little bit of nerves that came involved whenever you took that picture with her?
No, she knows and respects the fact that when she was in high school, I didn't think she'd be who she was.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, I've been pretty like open about it. So I only watched her play twice when she was in high school at the state championship because she's from Des Moines. I was in Cedar Rapids, so 2 hours away. A lot of crossover though between the sports anchors in both markets. And so state championship, it would have been state tournament, excuse me, it would have been her sophomore year of high school. It was my last year in Iowa. And I'll never forget, a bunch of them are like, oh yeah, Des Moines, Dowling Catholic's going to play. You're going to see Caitlin, number 4 recruit in the country. And I like see her take the floor and she's like 5'10", 140 pounds soaking wet. And I literally said verbatim, that's her.
Damn.
And I was like, she ain't going to hold up against college competition. Like, what do you mean? And and lo and behold, she obviously continued to develop, put on muscle and what have you, and is as lethal a shooter as we've ever seen in the men's or the women's game.
100%.
Initially commits to Notre Dame, flips to Iowa, which we can get into that too. Prior to Caitlin, I have had an amazing friendship and relationship with the Iowa women's basketball team from my time reporting there. So even when she was in high school, I believe Lisa Bluter, who just retired, is the best inherent coach in the collegiate level. Basketball, football, tennis, golf, I will put her up there against anyone.
Why
and
so?
How she's built that program. How she, first of all, age is like fine wine. My 3 years that I was there, 2 of the 3 years she had top 20 recruiting classes, which she had only had in her previous 14 years, I think, twice. So the recruiting picked up, and that was pre-Caitlin, pre-Megan Gustafson. Megan Gustafson, who's on the Las Vegas Aces, was also a National Player of the Year at Iowa. She was a true freshman when I was in my first year. And Megan went to a school where she graduated with 6 kids, and they found her in the backwoods of Wisconsin. I mean, granted, she was the Wisconsin Player of the Year, but they somehow lured her to Iowa, and they just do a great job of recruiting, developing a player like that who had never been in a weight room before, empowering her, empowering other women in that program. The entire staff, minus the video coordinator, the 3 years I was there, shout out to Ryan. Ryan's great. They were all women. And they'd all worked together since the 90s. So Lisa and Jan Jensen, who's now the head coach, and Jenny, that whole crew had been together since they were at Drake. They all came to Iowa together. And I think for me, it's a lot of my mom owns her own business, and she's been with her entirely female staff my entire life, basically.
Oh, wow.
And so I think there's like that parallel too for me. But I just think the way that Bluter and the consistent is the same person every single day approach. Doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. They're out here making, they make the Sweet 16 the year before I got there. 3 next years were a little, make the Elite 8 the following year. Still didn't get Caitlin Clark to commit. Doesn't lose faith. Caitlin Clark ends up reconsidering. They bring her in. They go to the national title game 2 times. It's like just the way it's like, and how I've been able to get to know people within that program. It's a very, very special group of women, and I was very glad to see Caitlin see the light. And that's nothing against Muffet McGraw, who I also think is a great coach at Notre Dame, and Jaden Ivey's mom, Nielle, who's now the head coach there. But
so it's deeper than Caitlin Clark.
Oh, no, I do. I go deep with I mean, that's why, like I say to people all the time, like I was an Iowa women's basketball fan before Caitlin. But no, so Caitlin, it's weird. Like I'm just Mia from Jacksonville because I've kept in touch with a lot of people out there, and so she knows who I am. She ran into one of the UNF staffers at an event the week before I saw her last summer, and she they had sent me a selfie, and so like I walked up to her, and she was like, "We got to send Brock a selfie," and like remembered his name, and like I'm like,
that's so cool.
Only time she'd ever met him, and like that speaks to who she is, and
for sure.
And I really another like word of advice that like I've tried ever since hearing her say this over the last 2 years. Like I've really tried in my own personal life to really implement this as much as possible. People are paying thousands, millions of dollars to watch her play basketball. The least that she can do is not only sign autographs, but smile and give people the time of day.
For sure.
And can it be tough after a loss? Yes. Can it be tough when you're exhausted, you've had a long day? Yes. But if you keep that mindset of this may be the only interaction they ever have with me, and I want it to be a positive one. Right. And like carrying that into your everyday life. That's where, again, she's bigger than basketball.
Oh, way bigger. Oh, for
and
sure.
I think
100%.
That's where I think people just need to understand. Like this is a kid who is going to transcend the sport. And and I think, the world's going to get to know her even more over the next few years. And I'm just lucky that I saw her when I did. And I said, I think she sucks. And now here we are. And it was funny because I got to see her in Dallas this summer. when the Fever played the Wings. I didn't get a chance to talk to her because security there was it's a whole other story.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it was bad. They don't understand that people come to see her, and they made everyone leave the arena, even though she came back out to do autographs. It was dumb. But the point is that somebody texted me from Iowa, and they were like, this is the first time you've seen her in person play. I've seen her in person. I've talked to her in person, obviously, but seen her in a game since she was a sophomore in high school. And that was very surreal for me as president of the local Caitlin Clark fan club, to be like, holy crap, it's been that long since I saw it in person. And you got to do it. If you haven't seen her in person, pay the money.
We have to. We have to. That'd be so dope.
It's worth the money. Go to Atlanta. Go to
she's
wherever to see her play.
She's brought so many new fans to women's basketball. It's insane. How did you feel whenever she didn't get put on the U.S. Olympic team?
Mm-hmm.
I have to ask.
Yeah,
I know how I felt. I was pretty fucking pissed off.
Well, let's go back to let's go back to how did I get into this whole crazy business? Iron Eagle and Noah, his son, who I actually was the counselor for at broadcasting camp in my 4th year, 5th year, whatever year it was. Noah was calling the games, and we had Noah on Helmets and Heels 2 weeks earlier, and he literally was like, "Yeah, we're pretty sure she's going to be on the team," and obviously that did not happen. And so look, even since then, I've heard a lot of conspiracy theories about how NBC intentionally wasn't putting the women's basketball team on promotional videos and on graphics. I'm not going to start keeping score on that front.
Yeah.
What I can tell you is that there would have been more people talking about the United States women's basketball team. And I understand it's one of the hardest teams in any professional realm to make. I respect that. And there are a lot of talented women on that team. But I think the general casual fan would have been more engaged. And this idea of, it's a great product anyways, you should still watch it. No offense, when they had a thud of a gold medal game, okay, people finally watched and this is what they were given. And I'm not saying Caitlin would have changed that because I don't think she would have. And I also think there's an argument to be made that they left some other players off, like Arike Ogunbowale,
for sure,
who is going to be the runner-up to Asia Wilson for MVP in the WNBA. And just because she, quote, hasn't been in the pool long enough, not the pool, the swimming pool, the Olympic pool,
sure,
therefore she doesn't get picked. That's dumb to me. If she's the second best player in the best league in the world, how is she not on the team?
It's about the best of the best.
Right, but it's like any sport. It's politics. It's this person's been in the pool for and you guys saw it even with the men's team with Derek White.
For sure.
We need this person because they're a glue guy, and we need Diana Taurasi because she needs to get her, Lifetime Achievement Award and her 6th gold medal, even though she's not going to even play. It's, I don't know.
It is very political. That is one thing that you kind of have to just accept when it comes down to it. But I mean, like you said, I'll tell you right now, I would watch every single game. Yeah, I think she definitely did.
If you were to ask people, Dawn Staley admitted it. She was how she's playing now. Back in May, but again, that's such a high bar. Yeah. She had played 6 professional games, and you're like, okay, she wasn't that good in the first 6 games, so therefore we're not putting her on the team. Mm-hmm. But then if you checked in at game 16, you're like, okay, she's top 5 in half of the metrics across the league. We probably should have put her on the team.
Right.
But,
just imagine how good she's going to get throughout the years, too.
But by game 16, Cameron Brink, who was also on a pretty good trajectory, tore ACL. So, again, you don't know.
For sure.
You didn't know for sure what was going to happen. And then, of course, you got the Angel Reese phantom stats, too, where she's out here. She's out here shooting 40%. And look, I think Angel's great for the game. And I think Angel's great for content. And I think she's a good player because she's got hustle stats out the wazoo. And I think that's something that young basketball players can watch and emulate. But I just get such a kick out of she had 12 rebounds, and I'm 3 of the rebounds were off of 2 missed shots of her own.
Exactly.
And maybe it's because I'm from the Lisa Bluter and Jan Jensen school, where if your bigs aren't shooting 60+% from the floor, we have a problem here. And Jan intentionally, I don't know if you guys saw this at all, if you watched any Iowa, they encourage their centers to not dribble. They are throwback. That's why Caitlin is so good at threading the needle to Aaliyah Boston in the WNBA, and her centers and any post player. It's all from Iowa. So go back and watch. If you just Google Caitlin Clark, Monica Sonano, it will blow your mind. And then if you even want to go a further step, Megan Gustafson college highlights. And you'll see that half of Megan's points come off of an amazing pass from Kathleen Doyle or Mackenzie Meyer or one of the guards back in the day.
That's interesting.
And she doesn't dribble. It's all about body positioning. Wow. And so that's where, for me, seeing I'm not going to say poor post play, but inefficient post play from Angel Reese is frustrating. Now, do I think she's going to develop? Yes. Do I think she, loose balls, rebounds, fighting, boxing out? Those are all important things to have in basketball. And so I think she's going to continue to develop. I got an absolute kick out of her going to Paris to watch the Olympic team because let's be real, she was out there stumping to be on the Olympic roster in 2026.
Oh, for sure.
Or 2028, excuse me. And then she was asked about, she's like, it's okay, me and Caitlin are going to be on the Olympic team together. And you're like, when did you come into this? So I appreciate the bit. I think Angel's great. But I also think it's great to have the rivalry.
No, I totally agree. I think she's great for the sport. I mean, you can't, I really can't hate on her or Caitlin. I just think that it would have definitely been more interesting if they were both on the team. I think that's pretty much the end of it.
Yeah.
Shout out Caitlin Clark.
Shout out to her.
That's like a dream guest for the pod. I think that'd be insane.
And here's the thing, y'all think I'm just shooting the shit right now. I can guarantee, Caitlin Clark, this is the same.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
The Mo Bryan is strong in her. I've said that more than once. She's definitely, she's got the chill vibes. But yeah, I also hope she actually enjoys an off season. Because I don't think she's going to have to go play in Europe. I mean, if she wants to, she could. But I think with all the endorsements and everything else, she's going to chill. So maybe you reach out to her in the off season.
That'd be so sick.
Anytime Caitlin wants to come
Caitlin will come to you. So
right.
you
go.
Drop the Addy, we're there.
Go to Indianapolis.
So let's kind of turn this train around a little bit because there's a segment that me and Joey kind of wanted to do with you. Yeah. We did it last season with Jordan DeLugo. Shout out to him, Generation Jaguar, for coming on the pod last season before the Jags started their season. But I was wondering if you wouldn't mind, let's predict the Jaguars season together.
Let's do it.
So Joey's got a list of all the stats that
I had one job.
You had one job.
I had one job.
He left it in the other room.
And he left his phone on the table.
It's okay.
I did this the other day. You're
good. So yeah, basically what we just want to do was, I think last season we were only 3 or 4 games off. The hopes weren't that high.
Yeah.
But then again, I think that this season, I love our team right now. I'm obsessed.
It's as deep a roster as they've had.
So deep.
Yeah, and it's as deep a roster that they've had.
And I feel like just our defense is fired up. They honestly remind me a lot of the 2017 defense that we had. Trevor's really starting to come around. It's only preseason, so whatever.
3-0 though.
But first game of the season, let's see.
Jaguars at Miami.
Dub.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Only because logic and looking back at history would suggest the Dolphins always have this amazing win because they beat the Ravens week 1 and it was a shootout, and last year it was a shootout. They're due to lose one of those shootouts.
Don't they have injuries too?
They have a lot of injuries. Bradley Chubb's going to begin the year on the PUP list. So is OBJ. Not that OBJ would contribute that much.
Yeah, exactly.
But Tyreek Hill's been banged up. Jalen Waddle's been banged up. Offensive line is banged up. I still have major questions about the interior of their defensive line without Christian Wilkins around.
True.
I think Mike McDaniel is a hell of a coach, though. I've listened to a lot of his podcasts and just leadership philosophies this summer, and I'm impressed with him. But yeah, I also think that he is so focused on ensuring that team peaks at the right time and doesn't peak in September. I understand they're a track team, but I think the Jags could sneak up on them.
Yeah, I love Dub week 1. That fires me up right there.
All right, week 2, Browns at Jaguars.
Okay, so when we did our predictions on 10-10 back in May, I made this a dub. My heart of hearts tells me it's a dub. But I'm also going to give you dubs for the next 2 games. So I'm going to say L because I want to see Jags fans panic again about, oh, my God, we can't win at home. We can't win at home. We can only win on the road. But
I hate that.
I also think the Browns defense is gnarly. They won't have Nick Chubb, which is for them. I mean, that's the identity of that offense because the nasty man, let's be real, we don't know what he is.
Who is their quarterback? It's not Joe Flacco.
No, it's Deshaun Watson.
It's Watson.
The nasty. It's the nasty man.
Oh my God.
The nasty man's, I don't think he has anything left in the tank, but I'm going to say L only because my goal is to come out of September 3-1.
Okay.
I'm going to say dub on that one, honestly.
I'm going to say dub as well, but this is Mia's list. We're going with L.
I'm just trying to ensure.
That just hurts so
3-1.
bad.
I'm trying to give myself a good bell curve here.
I'm already it's such a curveball already because Dolphins, she said dub, right? You couldn't even finish saying the game. She said dub. And then this one, it's possible.
Right. Well, people will be high on the Jags, and then all of a sudden they take a step back. I also think the Browns have a top 3 defense. So
true.
Facts. That is true. Okay, people don't think about that.
All right, week 3, Jaguars at Bills.
Dub.
I like that.
Josh Allen's daddy.
Is he?
Oh no, Trevor Lawrence is Josh Allen's dad.
Oh, for
okay,
sure.
okay.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, come
no,
on.
without a doubt.
Come on.
I thought you were saying Josh Allen, like Josh Allen is daddy.
Oh, Josh Hines
like,
Allen is Josh Allen's daddy too.
Oh, without a doubt.
yeah.
Without
That's
a
also
They
doubt.
know
true.
each other well.
Yeah,
The good Josh Allen.
exactly.
Yeah.
All right, then we got Jaguars at Texans.
Dub.
Really?
Ooh, I like that.
I like that.
I like
Texans
that.
need to be humbled, dog. And I ain't just saying that just because of the Jags and the AFC South.
I just feel like they piss us off. So
I was
do.
in Houston for that game. That would have been what, week 11, week 12, before everything went to crap on Monday Night Football against the Bengals.
Yeah.
I wasn't like balled over by the Texans. And now, yes, they add Danielle Hunter, who I think is a top 5 pass rusher in the league and doesn't get nearly the credit he deserves. But once you get past him and Will Anderson, who do they have on that defensive front?
True. No,
And
the
then,
defense-
wait for it, it gets even worse. And granted, I think D'Amico Ryans is a good coach and he could scheme people up. But then you look at their cornerback situation, right? You got Derek Stingley, number 3 overall pick, respect. You drafted Kamari Lassiter in the 2nd round, who honestly most people project as a nickel corner. You got Jeff Okudah, a failed project with both the Lions and the Falcons, opposite him. You had to release C.J. Henderson earlier today and Desmond King, which says to me that Lassiter has to start at nickel because you got rid of Desmond King, so now you don't have anybody at nickel. And then you've got like 3 undrafted free agent, like second-year players, I think it is, as your depth.
Okay, that's insane. Yeah.
So their defense, if you actually go, yes, I understand electric wide receiver group, and the offensive line last year was the most injured of any team, and they still managed to win the South. But I think that's the humble game. I think the Texans come into that 1-3-0, and that's the humbling game for them.
I love that. And actually, now that you explain it, I definitely agree with you because that defense is trash right now.
Right. Outside of the 2 pass rushers who
It's
are
just the wide receiver thing. I just know for me, I mean, last year, CJ Stroud, for one, is just an animal. But with them adding Stephon Diggs and just, I mean, I was a Nico Collins guy last year. I had him. He was like one of my number 1 wide receivers on fantasy. And I get scared about the Texans now, but especially with them being in our division. But I like that you put a dub there.
Yes. All right, then we got Colts at Jags.
dub.
Dub. That's gotta be.
Water's wet. The burial ground of Colts of year past.
Get
the
outta
Colt
here,
fever
Colts.
curse
Yeah.
or whatever we call it. Yeah, it's a dub.
Yeah.
I love
shit's
it.
bad.
I love it.
Jags at Bears.
Interesting game.
L.
Whoo! I totally.
That's in. Hold on.
It's in London.
That's in London, though.
It is.
Ooh.
It's
think
in
that
London.
changes it.
It's at Tottenham.
I actually.
Because we played well in London.
I think
If
a
it
lot
was
of my predictions here are just kind of accounting for the overall record. So my actual
sure.
picks may be wrong, but
Yeah.
to say that they would be, what is that, 4-2?
Yeah.
After that week 6 game, like
Yeah.
that's where I'm at.
Okay, I can see that. I can totally see that.
All right, next game in London, Patriots at Jags.
Dub.
Easy dub.
We're gonna
That's
walk.
that's
Bounce
gotta be
back from the week before.
true. I like that. That's gonna
Then
be.
we play good in London.
Exactly.
And then after that, Packers at Jaguars.
Yeah, that's a gnarly one.
No,
Gnarly. I'm going to say dub.
you gotta say dub.
Why
on
is it
that
gnarly?
one. I
Only
just-
because I think the Packers are going to be really good.
really.
Yeah, I do. I believe in Matt LaFleur. Akin to we were talking about Belichick and Brady, chicken
Yeah.
or the egg. We're going to be talking about chicken or the egg with Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur. And I think history is going to show us, not only because the Packers actually started drafting wide receivers after Aaron Rodgers left, but the fact that Matt LaFleur is a good coach.
But I'm not sold on Jordan Love. Yet.
Neither am I.
Okay. So so it's just a good game. For
I think
him.
he's just a good coach. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
But no, it's a dub for the Jags, though. I think the Jags will win that game, but I think it'll be really close.
Okay, dub for the Jags.
Yep.
Okay, I like that. Okay.
Jaguars at Eagles.
Dub, because I think the Eagles are going to regress.
You think?
I swear to God, and just
Yeah.
after the last time we played the Eagles, like
Yeah.
that, if we win that game, that's going to feel so fucking good.
Maybe I should say L just for like, yeah, I'm going to say L, just but change that. Just say L, only because I'm like, I reverse jinx.
Okay, yeah.
And it is Sunday Night Football, but I do think we will see a further regression to the mean from the Eagles with Kelsey's retirement, with an aging offensive line. Lane Johnson's going to be 34. I very curious to see if Jalen Hurts' health holds up without a formidable offensive line. I could be completely off.
I'm a big Jalen
They've drafted
Hurts
really
guy.
well. Cam Jurgens is a good player. What's his nuts? From Florida State and Alabama. Why am I blanking on his name? The one they're shifting to. Because Jurgens will be the center, the guard. Dickerson. Landon Dickerson.
Yeah.
He's a good player. So, I mean, I think they've drafted well, but, I mean, there's going to be some growing pains there without
Yeah.
Kelsey for the first time in over a decade.
I love Jalen Hurts. I'm a big Jalen
Okay.
Hurts guy.
He was
I
my
just,
fantasy football quarterback.
He was. I just love the way his
He's a
play
winner. He's
style.
got moxie.
He's a winner.
Resilient.
He went to Bama. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
And then it's cool how he left Bama was still a stud, too. A lot of guys leave Bama and can't do that.
In an age where kids love to hit the portal and avoid adversity, that guy is battle-tested.
Oh, he is. I love it.
All right, so after that, we got the Vikings at the Jaguars.
I got to give you a surprising L, so that's going to be my L slip-up.
Ooh,
Really?
That's
I think the Vikings are going to be better than people realize.
Better than the Jaguars?
No, I just think it's a one-off.
Yeah.
I think it's a one-off. I think Kevin O'Connell's a good coach. Again, from that Sean McVay tree, just like LaFleur. And I think he's going to coach his ass off this year with Sam Darnold.
We might go into that game sleeping.
And Brian Flores, right? And Brian Flores, and again, especially if you beat the Eagles the week prior.
Right,
True,
yeah,
that's a fact. Okay.
So if we beat the Eagles, we're losing to the Vikings.
Bingo.
That sucks.
It's the name of the game any given Sunday.
That's Jaguars football right there,
Right.
baby. That is Jaguars football.
Highs and lows, baby. Jaguars at Lions. That's a tough one, I think.
It's a tough one.
I would even say L on this game.
Yeah, I'm going to say, but I also think they're going to regress a little bit.
Really?
All right, so how about this? Again, we're doing a lot of, okay, so if you've lost to the Eagles, you beat the Vikings, it's a loss. But if you beat the Eagles, lost to the Vikings, I think it's a win. Yes, it's a win.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a win. So you're going to, that 3-game stretch, you're going to come out 2-1. I don't know which one's going to be the loss.
That is a really tough 3-game stretch, though. I mean, that is like all 3 of those teams are going to be really competitive, regardless.
After that, Texans at Jags. That's a dub.
Yes, that's a dub.
So
That's a
you
dub.
think we're going to take them twice this
I do.
year? Wow.
I think the Jags have something to prove.
So you think pretty much we're going to be running the AFC South?
Yes.
Because, I mean, that'd be our only other competition.
I think that they're going to, we'll get to it. I think they're randomly going to drop like the road game to the Titans or something.
Okay,
Some
yeah,
bullshit like that.
For sure.
And here it comes, Jags at Titans.
Yeah, they're randomly going to lose that game.
And I hate
Trap
it.
game.
I'm so tired of the Titans.
Randomly trap game. Yeah, just throwing it out there.
Oh, that hurts.
I hope
so
we
bad.
beat them.
I know. As long as we beat them at home. That's the one thing. We have to beat them at home.
Yeah.
Like, when the Titans come here, I want to own them. Like, if we're in Nashville, so be it. That'd be a fun game to go to. Me and Joey have been talking about we're going to do like a couple away games every season.
I do.
We want to do
back.
the London one, the
Right.
Patriots London one,
Yeah.
but that would be a really good away game.
So after we lose to the Titans, we got the Jets at home.
That's a dub.
That's a dub. Gotta
Yeah,
be
they're
a
going to,
dub.
I mean, Robert Saleh may not be the coach by that point.
Facts.
Another dub after that, Jags at Raiders.
Yes.
Gardner Minshew.
Because I don't even know if Gardner will be the starter at that point. I don't know if
True.
Antonio Pierce will be the coach at that point.
Facts.
Okay, and then after that, Titans at home.
That's a dub, and that wraps up the AFC South. So then you don't have to worry about starting Trevor against the Colts. Week 18, Mac Jones will be the starter in Indianapolis.
And he'll probably go off.
And he'll go off, and the timing will be right. And I'm speaking this into existence because it's positive vibes, folks. Marissa Lawrence is due in January. And so I have already accepted that, you know what, shout out to the timing, because it all but guarantees the Jags are going to the playoffs, and the baby's coming at some point during the playoffs. So I am just here to tell you that it's going to happen. I'm not saying that Trevor would miss a game. I think he would want to be there for the birth of his child.
I would agree.
But I do think that it opens up the storyline of Mac Jones, the former heralded quarterback, a backup who Doug Peterson has rehabilitated his career. He steps in, he leads them to victory. You probably have heard this story before with a certain quarterback.
Tom Brady.
No, in Philadelphia. Nick Foles.
My bad.
So, yes, exactly.
whole different lane. I was thinking about poor Tom Brady. He had a rough story.
So look, and again, I'm not wishing ill will upon anybody, but I just, as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, well, good to know the Jags are going to go to the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
So I was like, good. I'm glad we're going to be playing football in January, meaningful
I love
football,
that.
and we're going to have baby watch.
I love that.
Very
Dare I
excited.
say this is our year?
I think that
I think we have a
as
very
any.
good chance. I
Yeah.
think this, as much as
Didn't the Simpsons say the Jags are going to the Super Bowl? I think the Simpsons said that.
If they said it,
my
then it's
God.
happening.
Oh, it's happening.
So it's
Oh, my
happening.
God.
Yeah,
Okay.
the script writers have it out.
We need to go ahead and put our bets in, because you know them odds are going to be terrible.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, you could probably put $5 in and become a millionaire.
Well, I bet last year and it didn't hit, and that was the only time I've ever placed a futures, and it was just like I was in Iowa for a wedding, and so I'm like, I'm gonna put this down, and
I love it.
and obviously it didn't work out, so we're not gonna place any of those this year.
Well, that's cool. So, what do you have us at? That's
I think it's like a 10-7.
10-7. Which, honestly, I mean,
Yeah.
hey, I'm not even tripping after last season. That's perfect.
10-7, and then if you only have a loss or 2 losses in the division, that's what you needed to do last year. You didn't do
100%.
it. Roll with it this year.
No, I love it. A couple things that I wanted to ask obviously you're on the field interviewing so many different players, and I know for me, if I was ever had to have a conversation with Trevor Lawrence, it's like I could get it done, but my nerves.
Starstruck.
I'd be starstruck. It's the starstruck thing.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's just because I'm such a diehard, and maybe that's kind of too my, like it hurts a little bit. You know what I mean? Like if it would be so much easier to speak to a Jags player. I mean, Andrew Wingard, I know me and him would be best friends without a doubt. But do you ever get that way?
No, and I would credit actually when I was an intern at the Academy of Country Music, my junior year at Ithaca. So hung out with a lot of celebrities that year, or that semester, I should say, in Los Angeles. And I think when you've hung out with Luke Bryan in Florida Georgia line, you kind of just you reach a point where if you cannot be starstruck over them, when you've been in Katy Perry's trailer, and this isn't even a humble brag, this was one of the crazier stories of my young life.
She's flexing.
When you've been in Katy Perry's trailer and John Mayer comes in as you're opening the door, when that shit's happened to you, I don't know, you just realize that they're people too. And then again, that's where I was lucky that I was at a young age and I got thrown into the fire with so much of this. My first TV internship, I guess second, but either way, I interned News 12 New Jersey. And weird situation where the sports director got moved to morning anchor. The weekend sports anchor had a midlife crisis and quit. So they literally had one paid guy and then me, the intern. That was the department in a major New York market. And so they sent me to everything that summer. And as I was walking into Giants rookie minicamp, or maybe it must have been OTAs because the veterans were there, the photographer took me aside and said, "You're going to go into that locker room. There's going to be a lot of naked men in there." And I said, "Okay." And he goes, "Eli Manning is going to be butt naked and you have to interview him." And I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "You cool with that?" And I was like, "Yep." And he goes, "All right, you're ready for the rest of your life," and just sent me in there.
Oh my
God. And when you're 20 years old and you get thrown into that, it's just okay.
Yeah, nothing is good.
I'm desensitized to any of this, right. But yeah, no, I mean, there's always a little bit of butterflies, but I think when you're making an ask of anybody, when you're going to your boss to ask for a day off, you get a little bit of a butterfly. Right. And I was also taught that the minute that the red light comes on and you don't feel the butterflies, it's time to get out of the profession.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Not passionate.
Yeah,
I like that.
Exactly.
Which Jaguars player is the most charming?
Most charming. That's a good one.
Which Jaguars player would you want to date your best friend?
Oh, to date my... Okay. Okay. I would say... See, I don't want anyone to see this because they're like, why didn't you say me? Oh, no. I would say, and especially because we voted him Good Guy of the Year 2 years ago, I'd say Christian Kirk. Great, and he's a great married man now, and he's a great dude. But Christian is definitely one of those guys where he says all the right things, extremely approachable. Even when we're supposed to be media and not saying hi to them, he always says hi to us. He does it the right way. He's been counted out before, has a good approach to life. So I would say Kirk.
That's good. Yeah. I like that. I like Christian Kirk a lot. He seems like a great dude.
And then who wouldn't you want to date your sister?
Oh God.
Or best friend.
Which Jaguar player is the most intimidating?
I was gonna say my sister just got married Saturday, so I don't think I could say that. Most intimidating. Jalen Ramsey, Leonard Fournette. We're going to go back here. I always got along with both of them. I mean, Leonard was very forward about the immaturity his second year. He was very forward about it. He was I was a dick to you guys, and was very forward about that. So shout out to Lenny. Lenny grew up. And Jalen and I never had any bad beef. So player I wouldn't want to date my friend. They actually asked the players this a few weeks ago.
I saw that.
Yeah, and I forget who won. I did when it was, I'll flip it on its head and I'll say the same answer that Trevor gave for if you were stuck on a deserted island, who's the one player you wouldn't want to be with? And he said Cam Little, and it's probably because he would talk his ear off, and same, because I would probably talk somebody's ear off, so they probably would vote me. A lot of O'Brien and Cam, but he's just a good kid, brilliant, very much between the ears, excuse me, great leg. But I'll flip that question on its head, and I'll just say, who do you not want to be stuck in a room with or stuck on an island with? Yeah. And I'll give you the same answer that 16 gave.
Were you the one that took the clip of Dewey whenever he said,
yes.
Yeah. What was the exact quote? It was
always the Jags.
It was always the Jags.
We and he and I have talked about it. We have this mutual respect, which also is hilarious because his dad still thinks I hate him, and I'm like, we're we're literally friends. Like, I don't know. we get along. Like, I don't understand why this isn't, like, I'm the one he, like, seeks out for the camera, but his dad thinks I still don't like him because there was one year that he wasn't very nice to the media. But he has since reconciled with us, so I don't understand the... Anyways, shout out to the Wingard family. Yes, Dewey would find me, and we have the synergy, and it's unfortunate that the slide happened in 2023 because after that Texans game, like, they literally said to me, like, you're not allowed to wait here, you have to wait over there. And he, like, sprinted in to find me so that he could scream into my phone. And yeah, we have a great chemistry.
I love
when it
his
comes
energy.
to the on-camera presence.
Big Dewey fans here. Yeah. Like, I love Andrew Wingard. I remember when we first got him, it was like it was kind of like you didn't know if you liked him.
Well, that's the thing is, like, because he's this undrafted free agent kid out of Wyoming.
Yeah.
He's just Gardner Minshew's roommate for the whole first year of his time here. He's like lucky. He's just happy to be here. And then his second year, because they sucked, they were 1-15. Like, he had to play a vital role. And then you get to 2021, and Urban's out here playing him over Cisco, which upsets people. And Dewey was yelling at us at one practice in the media, and so then that didn't go over too hot with some folks. But eventually, we figure out his role, which is, like, heartbeat of the team, ace special teamer, and in a pinch, like when he filled in for Cisco last year against the Steelers, absolutely trust that guy to come in either as a backup or as a third safety.
Yeah, no, he's a dog for sure. Huge Andrew Wingard fans, man. I really enjoy him. Anything else, brother?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
Thank you so much, Mia.
Absolutely, guys.
Seriously, I love talking to you. I mean, I love listening to you, for one. Shout out to Helmets and Heels.
Shout out to Helmets and Heels.
If you're in Jacksonville and you're not listening to it, you're missing out.
And we
so
live
much.
stream on the same camera you guys film on.
Well,
I know that may sound weird to say because I know people don't believe we use video, but we do. So head on over 1010XL YouTube. We got the 1010XL Jaguars, Gators, Knowles channels. Subscribe. Tell your friends subscribe. Keep growing.
Plug all your stuff. Let's plug everything. So where can people find you on social media?
Yep, at Me O'Brien TV on X, Twitter, whatever you call it. Mobrien_16 on Instagram. All the 1010XL channels. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. We are on X, but we're currently suspended. That was me. It wasn't anything bad.
Suspended on X.
You literally, I pressed true story. I pressed the monetize tab and I put 1010's like creation date, which like the station was created in April of 2007. And because it's only 17 years old, they suspended us.
That sucks.
So we were in communication with Elon. We're in communication with Elon. We have made contact.
Is it through satellite?
We have made contact, and we are on our way back. The appeal is progressing nicely, in their words. Little misunderstanding. So we'll be back on there very soon. Facebook, and then I mentioned the YouTube channels, which we're really trying to grow these days.
Cool, yeah. Well, seriously, thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely, boys.
Absolute honor, and helping us predict the Jaguars season, giving us high hopes.
I do want to say this is probably one of the easiest podcast episodes we've recorded.
Well, I'm looking at the clock, and all I'm thinking is my boyfriend's probably like, where the hell is she? And I'm like, you know who I am. I just keep talking and having a great chat with you guys because it's just a conversation, not an interrogation.
There it is.
100%. No, seriously, you left us with so many great tips. I know I take so much from your game. Like,
Appreciate
I emulate everything you do, and you're seriously a dog.
Appreciate it.
No, but I'm really grateful for you coming on the show. Awesome conversation. Love talking Jags. And like Joey said, this was one of the easiest podcasts we've ever had to record.
Happy to give you guys an easy week. The edit won't be as easy. So
no, it actually will be because it's very...
not much to cut out.
Yeah, there's not much to cut out. Yeah, it was a great conversation. So seriously, thank you so much, Mia. You are seriously the bomb. All the OGs that are watching this episode right now, make sure you like, comment, subscribe if you're listening on YouTube. If you're on listening platforms, don't forget about that 5-star rating. And if you want some bonus content, patreon.com/OG sessions. All the certified OGs on there already know how it's going down. Secret sessions. Get on over there. We have some good secret sessions lined up too. Do. Well, we haven't,
there's some fun ones coming.
There's some fun ones coming. Yeah. We are bringing more girls too. That's a little hint. Okay. So there will be some girls on the secret sessions. So everyone that's been asking about that, all the certified OGs on there, you guys are.
We got something coming for you.
Getting blessed. Yeah, everyone, thank you to all our fans that are on there. And we'll see y'all next week.
Peace.